Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sandy Frank's political podcast for a people's revolution against the corporate fascist state. I am your host, Sandy Frank, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but mainly we're going to be talking about the WikiLeaks Vault 7 release from today, March 7th, 2017. We're going to be talking about the huge implications that this leak has, and just compare it to what the corporate media on their part is doing to really hush all of this up. You know, you see the corporate media today in complete Trump care lockdown denial of this, really the story of the year, honestly. What we've learned about this blows the Snowden leak out of the water. By far, we're learning things that just yesterday people would have looked at you and said you're a kooky conspiracy theorist and you need to be put in a soft room. Is what we're really seeing right now. I mean, we already knew that they could hack our phones and hack our computers and spy on us through those sorts of things, but we've learned so much more today about the scope of what they're able to do. Not sure if you've watched the video Debbie Signan, Sane Progressive, put out today, but yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. And everything coming out from H.A. Goodman is great too. But today we mainly want to talk about the other side of it, the corporate shills and the establishment media who, well, they haven't said anything about it. If you look at CNN.com today, it's just nothing but the Donald Trump show, day in and day out. But if you look at CNN's homepage, there is nothing. At least the last time I checked, there was absolutely nothing about this huge bombshell leak. I'm looking at it right now, and here they go. We got something from CNN. CIA hacks TVs and phones worldwide. WikiLeaks claims. And again, WikiLeaks is of course not some, they don't make claims. WikiLeaks has a, virtually 100%, verifiable information record. They've never put out any type of false information, even though they clearly have an agenda, which everyone does. But we have this on the back wall of the news outlets, the corporate news outlets today, as if it's not, again, the story of the year. So I'm just going to be putting some groceries away during this little talk we're going to have. We're just going to look at people like Glenn Greenwald and David Sirota, and a whole bunch of people are putting out Debbie Signan, because this is really a bomb bombshell revelation. We're gonna look at Michael Tracy's tweet right here. I don't always agree with this guy, but definitely on this subject, he's quite credible. He says, media just spent the past 8 months relentlessly demonizing WikiLeaks, but once again, it's WikiLeaks actually imposing transparency on the powerful. And you know, what WikiLeaks did today with this release is literally the purest form of journalism. You have to say we have, you know, just pure information straight from the horse's mouth of the wrongdoing of the CIA and the deep state. You know, it's completely damning, and you know, there should be massive, not just firings from these unelected deep state agencies, but a massive arrests going on right now for these illegal actions taken against all of us. Again, this is not just the U.S. You know, we know from Snowden, and we know now from this, they were spying on, you know, allies, enemies, you know, Angela Merkel, you know, top leaders from all over the world. Yeah, but so let's look at Glenn Greenwald has to say. Let's see. Let's see what other people have to say. So Debbie Lusignan tweeted out to WikiLeaks. So WikiLeaks said how a cashed up, expanding CIA built its own NSA. And it's a link to that part of the leak. And Debbie says, "Wonderful. We have not only NSA illegal covert spying actions against us, but CIA replicating them as a means of holding less accountability," which is really what they're doing. They're just spreading this blame around to really water down, yeah, the ramifications of what we've learned from this. You know, we've learned that you know, there's of course culpability throughout all branches of government. Again, this is not only the deep state entities, but of course Obama, Bush executive branches, and the ridiculously corrupt Congress. So we're going to look at Heavy.com, WikiLeaks, Vault 7, 5 fast facts you need to know. So let's look here. WikiLeaks released access to its hugely hyped Vault 7 on Tuesday morning, an hour earlier than anticipated. The passphrase was supposed to be released at 9 a.m. Eastern, but WikiLeaks released it an hour early at 8 a.m. Instead, when it was originally scheduled to have a press conference about the release. It turns out that Vault 7 is about a global hacking program being covertly operated by the CIA. Today's release was just the first in a series of releases about Vault 7. So, here's number 7. WikiLeaks tweeted out a release. CIA Vault 7 Year Zero decryption passphrase. Oh, that's just the... Oh, well, yeah, here, the passphrase is splinter it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind, which is, of course, a famous JFK quote shortly before the CIA assassinated John F. Kennedy. He made many speeches and public statements about how the deep state is really controlling our government. So the password, this was splintered into 1,000 pieces and scattered into the wind. So it goes on to say, WikiLeaks tweeted a series of 6 cryptic tweets about Vault 7 in February, causing speculation ranging from Vault 7 being related to 9/11 to Hillary Clinton to a shadow government of some sort. WikiLeaks even dropped another Vault 7 clue in its tweet with a photo hidden in what looked to just be a plain black background. Now we know that Vault 7 is about CIA's global hacking force. So, WikiLeaks really did a pretty good job, building up, anticipation for whatever this was. WikiLeaks does a lot of good things, and they're also good at hyping these things up. How many people would really have even given a shit today if there wasn't so much anticipation for, what WikiLeaks was planning to release? So let's see. One of the biggest issues that WikiLeaks sought to bring to light in its release was the CIA's secret hacking division had produced malware and other means of hacking iPhones, Android phones, Samsung smart TVs, and even bypassing encrypted apps like WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram, and then lost control of the malware. According to WikiLeaks, an archive with the malware and other exploits was being circulated, and some of it was given over to WikiLeaks by an unnamed source. But because the CIA didn't tell the companies about its capabilities, they weren't able to close the holes. According to WikiLeaks, the CIA even found ways to access phones that had used presidential Twitter accounts and were looking into hacking into cars and trucks. The cars and trucks part is crazy. Thinking that the CIA, if you're in a car made, anytime after 2011, the government can just hack your car and drive you off the road if you're some sort of dissident to them, which is fucking crazy. Insane. So here's everything we know about Vault 7 so far. We will add to this as more information is available. Excuse me. Number 1, Vault 7 is a series of leaks about the CIA that WikiLeaks is releasing starting with year 0. Vault 7 isn't just one release, it's a series of leaks that WikiLeaks is releasing starting March 7th, all about a covert global hacking program being run by the CIA. Increasingly, WikiLeaks may have named the leaks Vault 7 because they are releasing it on the 7th, or they may have picked this date to correspond with the Vault 7 release. The tweet announcing Vault 7's release contained a photo hidden in what a casual viewer might have thought was just a plain black background. The photo read, Prefecture 353. Find out more about this photo in the story below. So we'll go into that a little later, this little cryptic image they're given. But, it looks like there's more to come, is what we're really supposed to be looking at. But so number 2, WikiLeaks released the year 0 documents via a torrent file and a passphrase. Just note that if you simply click the file in the link above, it will automatically download a torrent file to your computer, so don't click the link unless you are wanting to download a file. According to WikiLeaks, you will then need the 7-zip program to unpack the file. At this point, you will be asked for a passphrase, which WikiLeaks will release at 9 a.m. WikiLeaks is recommending Transmission BT as a torrent downloader, according to its latest tweet. Let's see. Since originally posting the files in the form of a torrent file, WikiLeaks has now also made the file available online. They apparently released it both ways, so the files are still accessible in case the website were to go down. You can view, so they're really taking a lot of precautions with this release because, their little press conference that they were supposed to have at 9 a.m., even that got hacked into and able to go through, which is the case of so much, actual journalists online, which is, of course, people's videos won't load, live streams will fail, they'll cut out, la-di-da. Meanwhile, WikiLeaks has scheduled a press conference about Vault 7, which was ultimately delayed due to the Facebook Periscope video that Julian Assange was going to use under attack. Was going to be they were under attack by some sort of nefarious hacker. A live stream was posted to WikiLeaks' Facebook page, but the press conference never actually went live. WikiLeaks has not yet stated when the new press conference will be. Let's see. Number 3. Vault 7 is about the CIA's global hacking force and is the largest ever publication of confidential documents on the CIA. It will take a while to comb through everything in WikiLeaks' Vault 7 release. WikiLeaks summarized some important points in a press release about Vault 7. These are a new series of leaks on the CIA and the largest ever publication of confidential documents on the agency, WikiLeaks explained. This first part in the series has 8,761 documents and files from a high-security network at Langley, Virginia. WikiLeaks explained that it didn't hack the CIA. Somehow the CIA lost control of most of its hacking arsenal, malware, viruses, trojans, etc., amounting to several hundred million lines of code in an archive that was circulated among former U.S. government hackers and contractors. WikiLeaks was given portions of the archive. Excuse me, folks. According to WikiLeaks' press release, Year Zero exposes the CIA's covert hacking program, including exploits against products like iPhones, Androids, Windows, and Samsung TVs. The CIA has an extensive hacking division, WikiLeaks said, which is comprised over 5,000 registered users and more than 1,000 hacking systems and malware. WikiLeaks' press release adds that its source is questioning the scope of the CIA's hacking and if it exceeds mandated powers. The leak, WikiLeaks said, was meant to initiate public debate about the security creation, use, proliferation, and democratic control of cyber weapons. Here are direct quotes from WikiLeaks describing Vault 7. Okay, so I'll read these. By the end of 2016, the CIA's hacking division, which formally falls under the agency's Center for Cyber Intelligence, the CCI, had over 5,000 registered users and had produced more than 1,000 hacking systems, trojans, viruses, and other weaponized malware. Such is the scale of the CIA's undertaking that by 2016, its hackers had utilized more code than that used to run Facebook. The CIA had created, in effect, its own NSA, with even less accountability and without publicly answering the question as to whether such a massive budgetary spend on duplicating the capacities of a rival agency could be justified. In a statement to WikiLeaks, the source details policy questions that they say urgently need to be debated in public, including whether the CIA's hacking capabilities exceed its mandated powers and the problem of public oversight of the agency. The source wishes to initiate a public debate about the security creation, use, proliferation, and democratic control of cyber weapons. These techniques permit the CIA to bypass the encryption of WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, Weibo, Confide, and Cloakman by hacking the smartphones that they run on and collecting audio and message traffic before encryption is applied. WikiLeaks continued. The U.S. government's commitment to vulnerabilities equities process came after significant lobbying by U.S. technology companies who risk losing their share of global market over real and perceived hidden vulnerabilities. The government stated that it would disclose all pervasive vulnerabilities discovered after 2010 on an ongoing basis. Year Zero documents show that the CIA breached the Obama administration's commitments. Many of the vulnerabilities used in the CIA's cyber arsenal are pervasive, and some may have been found by rival intelligence agencies or cyber criminals. So there's kind of a the scope of this, and so now we move on to number 4. Vault 7 revealed vulnerabilities in iPhones, smart TVs, and Androids, even apps that were supposed to be encrypted. One thing revealed through the first Vault 7 release is that even apps that are supposed to be encrypted, like WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal, are vulnerable to the CIA's global hacking program. Excuse me. According to WikiLeaks release. Here are just some highlights about how the hacks worked according to WikiLeaks. Samsung smart TVs are vulnerable due to a weeping angel hack that puts the TV in a fake off mode. The owner believes the TV is off when it's actually on, allowing the CIA to record conversations in the room and send them through the internet to a covert CIA screener. So we knew the fake off thing from Snowden. We knew, fake off could be used for certain devices, but now we have, so many more different other kinds of devices. The scope grows and grows every day. Okay, so vehicle control systems of cars and trucks, which is fucking frightening. It's not known if these were hacked, but in 2014, the CIA was looking into infecting vehicle control systems used by modern cars and trucks. Motivation was unknown. Number 3, remotely hack smartphones. Infected phones would send the user's geolocation, audio, and texts. It could covertly activate the camera and mic of the phone. A special division was devoted to iOS products like iPhones and iPads. Android phone were also targeted. We move on to bypassing encrypted apps. The CIA used techniques to bypass encrypted apps. WikiLeaks listed the following: WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, Weibo, Confine, and Clockman. I think I said Cloakman before. It's Clockman. The smartphones would be hacked first, and then audio and message traffic was collected before encryption was applied to the apps. We go on to targeting Microsoft, Linux, and OS X with malware. The CIA's efforts also focused on infecting Microsoft Windows users with malware. Microsoft was targeted via viruses injected through CDs, DVDs, USBs, data hidden in images, covert disk areas, and other types of malware. Malware attacks were also aimed at Mac OS X, Solaris, Linus, and more. We move on to phones running presidential Twitter accounts. Interestingly, WikiLeaks wrote that specific CIA malware revealed in year 0 is able to penetrate, infest, and control both the Android phone and iPhone software that runs or has run presidential Twitter accounts. As WikiLeaks mentioned, if the CIA can hack these phones, so can anyone else who obtained or discovered the vulnerability. When WikiLeaks obtained the hack, it had been distributed to others too. So just think about that. Think about the power of Donald Trump's Twitter account, or even Barack Obama's Twitter account. These Twitter accounts from these powerful people, especially Donald Trump's Twitter account could start a war in a minute. Donald Trump's Twitter account could crash the world economy in a minute. Okay? So, just understand that, these unelected deep state monsters have total control of the fate of our world. It's ridiculous. Move on to router exploitations. Hundreds of router exploitations are listed in the document. And then we move on to the CIA can misdirect their cyber attacks to look like someone else. According to WikiLeaks, the CIA collects attack techniques stolen from malware produced in other states, including Russia, via a project called Umbrage. UMBRAGE. The CIA does this for many reasons, but one use they can do is leave behind fingerprints that misdirect attribution, making it look like their cyber attack was done by someone else. Note, it's unclear at this time if the misdirection is WikiLeaks' interpretation of one thing the CIA could do, or if there's a specific place in the document where the CIA mentions this use of Umbrage. Okay, so move on to, because the CIA kept the vulnerabilities hidden even after they were exposed, WikiLeaks said this put the population at large risk, including members of the US government, Congress, top CEOs, and engineers. Without letting Apple and Google know about their vulnerabilities, the companies had no means to fix the hacks after they leaked. So, this could be one thing that leads to something coming from this. CIA was fucking with, CEOs and government officials. This this could lead to a whole slew of business giants and tech giants, wanting to decide exactly what Kennedy said, dismantling the deep state, fucking scattering it to the wind. Our goal here is transparency, and we want to get transparency in our government, and we want to get our democracy back through any means possible. So we move on to the next part. Let me just look here. It goes into detail about the vulnerabilities, but we'll move on to. We might go back to that part later. But number 5, WikiLeaks built hype for Vault 7 by releasing 6 tweets about it, asking who, what, where, when, why, and how. In February, WikiLeaks released 6 tweets about Vault 7 using journalism's classic who, what, where, when, why, and how method. The first was, what is Vault 7? The photo is of Svalbard Seed Vault on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen in a remote Arctic archipelago. I never know how to pronounce that word. Archipelago? I hope so. I don't know. The vault was created to preserve plant seeds from around the world in case of a global or regional crisis. Here's a video explaining the seed. We're not going to watch it. What you see above the entrance to the vault is an illuminated public artwork. It was made by Divek Sane and is called Perpetual Repercussion. The second tweet was, where is Vault 7? The photo in this tweet shows Nazi gold stored in Merkers salt mine. It's referred in this... The gold at Merkers was discovered when the U.S. Army took Merkers in 1945 during World War II. 2 French women had reported that the Caserada salt mine had gold stored by Germans, which was how the U.S. Army first discovered it. According to National Archives, the mine contained gold bullion. Is it bullion or bullion? I don't know how to pronounce that. Gold Reichsmarks, British gold pounds, French gold francs, American gold pieces, gold and silver coins, additional foreign currencies, silver bars, platinum bars, artwork, and more. Nazi gold was allegedly transferred by Nazi Germany to overseas banks during World War II, and to this day, people are trying to guess and discover what happened to that missing Nazi gold. A group of Holocaust survivors brought a civil suit against the Vatican Bank over it in 1999. The case was dismissed in 2003, but then reinstated in part in 2005. Various parts of the case were dismissed again in 2007 through 2009. So I can't really guess at this point what Nazi gold has to do with WikiLeaks. I'm sure something, but just going again into how good WikiLeaks is at building up hype. What would get people more interested in your CIA leak than like a Nazi gold hunt? But now we go into when is Vault 7. The photo in the tweet was from 2010, taken at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia while running a jet inspection test on a Pratt & Whitney F-119 PW-100 jet engine. The article talks about a soundproof hush houses that are used for jet engine testing, sometimes called vaults. The engine's name fed theories that Vault 7 was about 9/11 because F-119 is 9/11 backwards. Okay. Here's the 4th tweet, which was, who is Vault 7? The photos are part of a series of spy posters created by the U.S. government. You can see all of the posters. Beneath Snowden's photo, and we have pictures of Manning, Assange, Snowden. Beneath Snowden's photo, the poster reads, spilled the beans and ran. Beneath Assange's, it reads, the hack behind WikiLeaks. Ooh. Behind Manning, it reads, leaked the largest cache cache of classifieds. Since Manning is currently still in jail, this likely doesn't mean that these three people were the source of the Vault 7 leaks. Why is Vault 7? A reverse image search revealed this photo to be from an article posted by Whiteman Air Force Base. The caption of the photo reads, Staff Sergeant Adam Boyd, 509th Civil Engineer Squadron Structural Supervisor, welds a box blade from a snowplow. February 27, structures airmen perform jobs such as this one to save the Air Force from having to possibly spend money on parts made by civilian companies. This photo fed more theories that these tweets are about 9/11, since box cutters were used, and there's a theory circulating about welding pillars incorrectly. So, this article really thinks that, this will lead to something about 9/11 being the false flag terrorist attack, carried out by the CIA to lie about Islam and terrorism, which of course it was. Those were controlled demolitions of the Twin Towers and World Trade Center 7. But I'm still not seeing such a clear parallel to 9/11. It'd be great if it was, but we'll have to see. So now we go to, how did Vault 7 make its way to WikiLeaks? This photo can be found in several locations, including Open Society Foundations, images from the secret Stasi archives. The caption reads, when mailboxes were being observed by Stasi agents, every person posting a letter was photographed. Some films found in the Stasi archives also show persons dressed in civilian clothing emptying the mailbox after the conclusion of the surveillance action. It's part of a series of photos of people at mailboxes. Stasi is the Ministry for State Security, which was the official state security service of the German Democratic Republic, East Germany. Wikipedia cites several sources as saying Stasi was often referred to as one of the most effective and repressive intelligence and secret police agencies in history. George Soros is the founder and chairman of Open Society Foundations, the source of this photo. This tweet confirmed that Vault 7 referred to the files that WikiLeaks has rather than to a specific person, as some had surmised prior to this tweet. These photos may have also been chosen because of the lack of copyright restrictions on them. Another possible clue was tweeted by Embassy Cat, a Twitter account run by Julian Assange's cat. It's an official Twitter account associated with WikiLeaks. Embassy Cat, a Twitter account run by Assange's cat, only posted one thing possibly related to Vault 7. And it's a cartoon strip. Let's see. And it's a cartoon strip. And then it looks like another Twitter person. Looks like a Donald Trump supporter, but again, let's see what this person has to say. It's deplorable Midwest gal. Said of the comic strip, Assange and Embassy Cat had their internet restored. This comment was the only thing posted from Embassy Cat in reference to Vault 7. So let's see what they say. It talks about how the papyrus proved that Caesar was lying and all Gaul was not conquered. The whole empire will tremble when the scandal comes out. The year 353 AD was referenced in WikiLeaks' tweet about Vault 7's release, which also relates back to Gaul. Ultimately, it appears this clue was simply related to how ground-shaking WikiLeaks believed the release would be. As the clues grow, theories about WikiLeaks abound, fed in part by a press conference related to Anthony Weiner's laptop that was delayed on March 7th. This ended up not being related to WikiLeaks Vault 7 in any way. Here are just a few of the theories that were suggested about Vault 7. In the end, Vault 7 ended up being about something most people weren't suspecting, the CIA hack. So, this people were talking about Clinton's missing emails, the FBI vault on Clinton, Obama wiretapping, Pizzagate, 9/11, George Soros and the Democrats, government spending or military involvement, extinction of animals or climate change, shadow government. So we don't really know where this will all go from here. We don't know what else we'll learn. We don't know what else will be found in the released Vault 7 leak that we have out right now. We don't know what else. We don't know what else is to come. So, we're still waiting on. We're still waiting on a lot of. A lot more information to come out about what the hell is going on. But yeah, right off the bat, we're learning about the different CIA hacking methods that we know have been used through this leak. But yeah, even besides the theories that people are coming up with, what we know for sure is incredibly damning for the deep state community. What they're doing with our devices, what they're doing with our vehicles. So we're going to look at a little more. Let me just give you the person who wrote that article. By Stephanie Dubé-DeWilson of Heavy.com, WikiLeaks Vault 7, 5 Facts You Need to Know. That was a very informative article. Thank you, Stephanie, very much. Right now we're going to look at kind of a briefer summation of what we learned so far from, just today, from the Vault 7 release. So WikiLeaks nukes the deep state with March 7, 2017 Vault 7 CIA release. CIA had espionage division more powerful than NSA with no checks and balances. So they're really trying to spread around this these huge entities that can do whatever they want and act in any way they want. By creating two, for now we'll just say two giant NSAs that can do anything, which we now know the CIA has. You really spread the culpability around. But CIA's secret hacking division produced a huge amount of weaponized malware to infest iPhones, Android phones, and lost control of it. CIA negligence sees it losing control of cyber weapon arsenal. Serious proliferation concerns. You don't know where this could go. Anyone and everyone is good with computers and hacking these days. We don't really know who else could be breaking into this stuff as well. Obama CIA built most powerful cyber attack arsenal, costing U.S. taxpayers $100 billion plus, more than $100 billion, lost it all to the enemy for free. CIA illicitly hoarded zero-day attacks, putting at risk industry government. And this could be really the thing that brings it out right now. the rich and powerful elite who are now pissed off at what the CIA has done, damaging their companies, damaging their profits. You could see a huge backlash from especially the tech community coming out of this. And that might be the way we get transparency, and that might be the way we damage the deep state, is by using the corporations as a pawn to really go at each other and tear each other apart. Obama administration used their advanced cyber attack arsenal against private citizens. Yep. WikiLeaks implies Trump was spied on with of course, Donald Trump's devices, which of course is what's happening. CIA hackers celebrated financial regress of Obama. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'm sorry. CIA hackers celebrated financial regress of Obama. Obama gave unlimited power to the CIA to gain favors and not end up like JFK. Yeah, pretty much. We know that Obama was always a puppet. He was never any revolutionary. He was never any. All the hopey changey shit was complete bullshit, and he was just along for the ride. We go to CIA inserted CIA coders in major U.S. tech companies to implement backdoors directly. CIA turns smart TVs, iPhones, gaming consoles, and many gadgets into open mics. CIA can spy on you through your smart TV. CIA turned all internet-enabled consumer electronics in the world into listening devices. This is like the Dark Knight. It's like that scene from the end of the Dark Knight. Morgan Freeman's, upset about the overreach. Some people, called that pseudoscience or whatever, but we're living in a pseudoscientific world now, I guess. Unbelievable. Let's see. CIA turned every Microsoft Windows PC in the world into spyware. Can activate backdoors on demand, including via Windows Update. Skype voice conversations are converted into text and stored in the CIA spy cloud. Yeah, that's the technology I want as a writer and a aspiring journalist. I wanted to take those fruits from the corporate fascist, being able to write down all the thoughts you had. That'd be great if we get that to the public. But we now know it's being used just regularly. Probably millions of people a day are having all their spoken words jotted down. CIA equals Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, Google, which again, all of this, it is shocking, but then of course it's not shocking because of how much we already know and how much we understand that our government has been usurped. CIA has tools to remote control chips in cars, trucks, planes, medical devices, and hospital tech with assassination potential. I even saw, if we're talking about conspiracies, already today I've seen stuff about the Malaysian jet airliner where all those poor people were disappeared, most likely killed. People are now talking about that. I'm not pointing that as any type of fact, and I'm not saying the WikiLeaks proves that at all, but there's some people talking about that. CIA hacker malware threat to journalists, infests iPhones, Android bypasses encryption, and then U.S. consulate in Frankfurt is a covert CIA hacker base, and CIA deliberately mimics the hacking protocols of Russia to obfuscate their own hacks. So, and then of course we have the rest of the corporate media just continuing their Russia bullshit. But that's a small extent as to what is going on today with this monumental release. Just unbelievable unbelievable and not unbelievable, the scope of what we have as a citizenry allowed our government to get away with through, manipulation on all fronts. Manipulation, economic fascism that is basically slavery, which makes us unable to really counter the corrupt actions of our government in a real way. But and a lot of it is our fault. A lot of it is on us for being very, very irresponsible with the way we live our lives, especially in the West, especially in the United States. But this nonsense, this nonsense, we really need to put a stop to this. Edward Snowden tweeted out, if you're writing about the CIA WikiLeaks story, here's the big deal. First public evidence, U.S. government secretly paying to keep U.S. software unsafe. And then Debbie Lusignan retweeted at him, paying to keep software unsafe. Paying. They're using our money, folks. They're using the money we give the government to do this. $20 trillion wars, $100 billion plus for this CIA program that, could be going to our education and our healthcare and our children's health and our infrastructure and our anything, our society, our mental health, our communities, our the police brutality, ending this type of police nonsense, of ending poverty and homelessness. And this is what we're allowing our government to do, which is it's haunting, and it's frightening on so many levels. But it's ridiculous. But we see the corporate media all day long. It's not to say that Donald Trump's wanting what he wants to do to healthcare as compared to the horrible things that Obama did to our healthcare system. It's not like this story isn't important, but it's not that fighting for single-payer healthcare and expanding on it. Imagine if we put the $20 trillion that we spent on murdering people in Muslim nations because of lies about terrorism and Islam. Imagine if we put that $20 trillion into our world, and not just the United States healthcare system, education system, government, but humanitarian, and trying to end nation states and create a world government that provided for everyone's needs. With $20 trillion, we could have done that tomorrow 20 times over. But instead, we've spent the last 2 decades of our lives. Again, these are our lives. This is the time we're allowing to just go through the hourglass before we're all carrying in the ground. And this is what we're doing. It's very pathetic. I know a lot of it is economic fascism, and we don't have a lot of ability, and we don't have a lot of ability to create major change without fucking becoming poor and starving to death in the streets. But a lot of this does also fall on us. A lot of this, we need to take the blame for a lot of what's going down. And one very important way that we need to go about this is taking our media back. If you look at what the corporate media is putting out all day long, this WikiLeaks story is back page news on CNN and MSNBC and NPR And when it is, it's just false information smearing the character of Julian Assange as if this has anything to do with Julian Assange. Again, there's nothing bad about Julian Assange. I don't like the narrative he's creating on refugees, kind of going along with the fear mongering. I don't like. It's kind of a very contradictory narrative he's creating, demonizing. And again, Sweden is not the perfect government in the world. There are a lot of good things in the Swedish government. There are a lot of bad things in the Swedish government. But this has nothing to do with Julian Assange, the people at WikiLeaks. This has to do with this information about the way our government is being operated. But, The Hill, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, it's just the Donald Trump show 24/7. It's not as if, Donald Trump doesn't also, and that faction doesn't also understand what's going on. It's a silly little game they're playing, and they're distracting a lot of people, and they're making a lot of people very, very dumb. And there's a lot of people, talking about, there's nothing in there on Russia, so it's not even important or whatever, and it's ridiculous. Edward Snowden tweeted out, I think, when he was starting to look through the things, he said, "What makes this look real? Programs and office names such as the JQJ parentheses IOC crypt series are real. Only a cleared insider could know them." So, these programs these are classified documents. Knowing from people like Edward Snowden who lived it, who were going along with these giant NSA programs, and weighed on his conscience, and he eventually had to do something about it, which seems like someone else within the deep state did the same thing. Well, we don't really know that much about the leaker, and probably nor should we, because we want to keep this person safe. Maybe this person could put out more information, but who knows what else is to come from WikiLeaks. Who knows how much they have? Who knows what's to come? Who knows what are the repercussions of just this information? Who knows what else could be put out? But we have from Sarah Abdallah on Twitter. She's writing about the WikiLeaks. CIA's Umbridge project allows the agency to stage cyber attacks and make it look like Russia is responsible. False flag par excellence. And then just a clip from the WikiLeaks. The CIA's remote device branch, Umbridge Group, collects and maintains a substantial library of attack techniques stolen from malware produced in other states, including the Russian Federation. With Umbridge and related projects, the CIA can only increase its total number of attack types, but also misdirect attribution by leaving behind the fingerprints of the groups that the attack techniques were stolen from. So we talked about that. They can leave behind evidence, and that means they can leave behind evidence on pretty much anyone they can get the fingerprints of, or any type of any type of evidence. Who knows? But all of this just coming out, hugely explosive, and you can tell any news source, corporate news source that isn't reporting on this right now, you need to turn off immediately and unsubscribe and divest from immediately. We should all be divesting from cable subscriptions and whatever. We need to operate with systems that we can reach each other, but we also need to be careful of the corporate media, and we need real news sources in our lives. So if you're watching CNN right now and they're talking about Trumpy Trump, when they created Trumpy Trump, it's time to put a sledgehammer through the screen, Pink Floyd style. But yeah, that's it for now. We'll see what else comes out in the next, in the future. Hopefully some more, but we also need to urge that something be done. Because of this, urge that we clear out our government, and we clear out the deep state, and we take our democracy back. But huge revelations from WikiLeaks. We thank WikiLeaks for doing this. They have the courage to speak truth to power. But please like this video, share, comment, subscribe, do whatever. My name is Sandy Frank, and I will see you in the next one.